chemical reactions not through panes of glass, but through air molecules right in the same room.
Right.
Now with COVID, you kind of not wanting to do that.
Had to take a different approach.
Yeah,
sure.
We're vaccinated now.
Yeah, but traditionally, like if there's a vocalist that at least that I feel comfortable with, or that I want to have elicit a specific emotion, it tends to work out really well when we're in the same room. On the other hand, if maybe it's a newer artist that's either a little bit shy or they like to be isolated, maybe it's the client that Casey was talking about earlier, the imaginary client that takes off their pants to record. Like
maybe it is. You never know. He could walk into your space any day.
Yeah, serial pants taker offer in sessions. But like maybe they want their own creative space to maintain, to control, and I think that's a huge component of where I'm going to record. So like, I'll have clients that I know that I'm going to record in that ISO booth rather than in a room with me for that sole fact.
Right.
One last thing but before we move on to more of this physical stuff, I just wanted to touch on the like an extended technique of like producer mindset into getting a good take out of technique is sometimes pushing the artist to do more takes or get frustrated with takes to elicit a specific emotion out of that. And we can get more into that in the performance section, but I think that's a good thing to touch on the technique side. Like sometimes, maybe the person is doing some really great takes, but it's not the right emotion.
Right. I mean, you've seen like even just like the Detained EP that we did, even like the 5 songs that we tracked last fall, like stuff like that. That's part of what I love, and I think is such an asset to tracking vocals like this and being in a control room with let's say we're tracking guitars, is that like otherwise it's completely sterile and you just like, cool, I'm rolling tape, and it's just you're in a isolated booth, headphones on, you hear nothing, and especially in between takes. Yeah. Even if it takes, and you and I, we know how this, and any drummer that's recorded at a studio sometimes kind of knows this, where you're like, you finish a take and there's 10 seconds of silence before they get on the talk back, and you're just like, wait,
did I do a good job?
Did I mess up?
Yeah.
And then they're just kind of like, there's nothing worse, I think, than to be like, guys, and so that's why I love being in here, because also sometimes there can be this like pre-roll anxiety that where it's like, oh my God, they hit record. I can't fuck up. Please don't fuck. You're definitely going to do.
You're going to fuck up.
Yeah. And I see it, because I know it as someone that like the second I stop caring and stop holding it so tightly, that's when I do my best work. That's when I get my best takes out. So I also love being in here for that reason, where if it's a part, you can curate the energy a little bit more, where it feels like you're just having fun, which is what you're supposed to be doing. And I can be like, all right, our boy Cav stepping up to back, as the track is pre-rolling. So he's not thinking about counting down the seconds. He's like, staying loose, right? And having fun with it. Or even something is, and sometimes you can ride the talkback like this with drummers or guitar players. If there's like a incredible moment where they mess up but they still land on a note, I might be like, wait, hang on it. I know you messed up. Just hold the note. Because I'm hearing something that I know I can chop that out, but still use the end of it because it's incredible. And I don't want them to abandon this potential like gold mine of something that they stumbled onto because their thought was, well, I didn't play it exactly like I was supposed to. So sometimes if they're in the room, sitting next to me or whatever, I can be like, hold it, just hold it. Like, let it keep ringing, right? You know, and have one of those moments. And that's kind of why I love that, because you can, the immediacy of it, you can pull that out. But like you said, some people, you have to know the artist, and some people like having their own space, their own serenity, like to go in, have that like calm and quiet, and just to get in a zone that is all their own, right? So it's asking and knowing, and sometimes that, comes with what they've done before, or you might right off the bat just be like, hey, I think this would be better if you like came in here and just, and we like chatted about the part or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I mean, like going back to what Adam was talking about, the lighting and the smell. I think that's really important to maintain like a sense of where you're at with the project. What like sometimes I ask people like, what's the lighting package that you're going to have at your live show? Like what's this song feel like? Is this a blue song? Is this a red song? Oh no, you know what? This is a all white out strobe song. Like that will affect performance, whether like it actually affects it or it just like mentally, or
the fact that you had the conversation, it primes it and puts you in a different space, and you're like, oh shit, they see, they can see that change. And as like, as Instagram studio as it is sometimes, I think it is really important. And there's a reason that a lot of those legendary studios, they put so much money and time, not only into the acoustics, but like to putting a space that artists wanted to be in, right? Because when they walked in there, something felt entirely different. I think Brian Eno has a quote actually that talks about treating the recording studio like a tool,
it's an instrument.
And an instrument effectively in its own way. And it almost making it an instrument that you want to keep coming back to and keep picking up and playing. Like your favorite guitar, like your favorite horn, like your favorite whatever. If a studio and a space is that way, where you have really incredible emotions and positive feelings attached to it from the time that you've spent there, you're going to want to keep coming back. You're going to want to be doing your best work. And that's ultimately, whether that is at home or that is a studio space that you find, or people that you work with, that they have a space that you really like for one reason or another, because you feel comfortable, you feel safe, the vibe seems really easy, right? And it's not too stiff, it's not too like professional or what, you know what I mean? Like whatever it is, knowing that that's ultimately setting the tone for yourself, and that's the place you'll do your best work, then if you have a separate room, or at home, like say you just have a mobile rig or whatever, it's like even going as far as like getting a better lamp. If that room just has like a fluorescent light and it just feels like you're working in like some sort of like office complex, 24/7, it could change the whole thing if you kind of put up some sort of a softer palette, maybe, that just like makes you want to be in there more. It doesn't make you feel like you emerged from some sort of interrogation chamber when you came out. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of small stuff. Even if you're at home or in an apartment, just like something that switches or sets the tone visually. I don't know. If it's like the Jimi Hendrix blacklight poster, whatever your vibe is, right? The lava lamp, like collector's, wall. Fine. That like
those cool felt, like the tiger felt posters that glow in the dark.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe you get have a shopping trip at Hot Topic or
Spencer's
Gifts, and just pimp your space out, right? Call the Fab Five and just
you got. I know Ed Sheeran likes to play with Legos while he's tracking, or like we just got a cool fidget spinner from Last Prisoner Project. Awesome organization. Go check them out. But like, these little things that like make the studio experience like fun for the artist, and they make it
until you step on a Lego.
Until you step on that's less fun. Well, and maybe it's if it's a shoes off studio, maybe you don't do Legos. But like all these little things that just make it more enjoyable for an artist to come in. And like, even from our perspective, like the three of us working here independently a lot as well. And myself, especially, I come in here and to create all the time. And like, I would argue that our studio is more comfortable than my apartment. Like, because I put all the thought and time and effort into this space, and then I live in a shoebox. Like, and because like this is what I actually want to be fun and exciting and comfortable to like work in, and like,
and it makes you want to come back.
And it makes me want to come back, and it makes me want to work hard, and it makes me feel free and like I want to create, and like it's just a really like cool thing when a studio can do that and make you feel really at home and make you feel like you can be yourself and not feel like you gotta like walk on eggshells or you gotta be something you're not, because ultimately that's gonna make a better take for you. And then if you want to even like push that further from like an engineering standpoint, like getting the sonics down as well to like get the environment right.
Yes.
Getting your headphone mix dialed so that it doesn't sound like garbage when it hits your ears. And, as a player, you've got to work against what's happening in the headphone mix. Now, like take a second as an engineer and get your headphone mix dialed so that when that person puts on the headphones, they go, this sounds like my record, not this sounds like a garbled piece of nonsense through like an LG flip phone from 94.
Right.
Or not 94. That's not when flip phones came out.
2004.
2004. Yeah. But like you get the idea where it's like if you have the sonics like worked out where like even like if it's coming out of the speakers, like making sure things aren't just like randomly clipping, or that there is some semblance of balance throughout like what it is that you're tracking so that it feels regular. Or even, I mean, Casey, you told us a story a couple weeks ago about like when you were tracking with Evitz, like tracking apart through headphones versus like doing it in an amp, and like how much of a difference that made for you.
To be fair, that's part of the reason why the space that we've ended up with here exists and is so crucial to the work that I do and the work that we all do here, and why I always, whenever I do work elsewhere, I try to look for an environment that can recreate that, because having the mains or something that can pump out a decent amount of control room volume when you're tracking cabs in a in an ISO booth somewhere else, sometimes the playback of them through smaller speakers, you're so used to like the energy and weight of even the rumbling of a floor of like, if you're a guitar player, like a 412, or if you're a bass player, having that fucking 810 right behind you, like kicking you in the small of the back. You know what I mean? Like, when you don't feel that, that's part of the inherent vibe in energy, especially if you're talking about rock music or like trying to translate the energy of a song playing live. And hopefully, yes, you've done the diligence of figuring out what makes the parts rip and feel that way in pre-pro, so you're just trying to do it. But that's also part of getting the magic and making sure that you're grabbing that essence of it in the track that you're putting down. And for us doing it when I tracking guitars with Evitz, the story that I told was about more or less I was sitting there in a control room next to him, listening to playback on the Gen LX, tracking the guitar. Song sounded great so far. Drum sounded killer. I think there was probably a decent amount of stuff, even scratches on there, and I just like wasn't playing the part, and it was probably a faster song. I think this is probably like Suburbia we were doing with Steve, and some fast tracks on there. And I was just like, couldn't keep up with it, or, just was like trying to downstrum, a really fast part. And I just like wasn't, I was falling off at the end. He's just like, dude, you wouldn't be sitting down if you were playing this live. Like, of course, like your body language, your entire spirit is like, you want to just be sitting there with an Edge preset on some like stomp box and just like noodling. But that's not the song we're in. That's not the headspace we're in. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, you would never be playing this song sitting down. How do you think you're going to get that conviction if you're just kind of like there? Not that I was phoning it in. I was sitting down trying to like due diligence to the part and play it well. And ultimately, it wasn't the like perfect technique. It was being and embodying that kind of essence and realizing, oh, cool. He's like, fine, I'll just crank up the Genelecs, you're going to stand right in front of them, and you're going to start to feel like what it feels like when your amp and the band, and even had me, you know, turn around so that it felt like my amp was behind me, like I was on stage and wasn't looking at the screen, wasn't, you know,